Urine is a resource, a gold mine through and through, filled with potent nutrients, a farmer's magic brew. And though you think it's funny as you chuckle or guffaw, it's time to spin our gold into straw. Straw, oh straw, as you chuckle or guffaw, it's time to spin our gold into straw.
Have you ever tried to efficiently and effectively apply urine as a fertilizer to an entire field of corn? I'm Arthur Davis, the Operations Director at the Rich Earth Institute in Brattleboro, Vermont, and we have been working on exactly this problem in collaboration with John Janison of Peat Stand in Walpole, New Hampshire. But first, you may ask, wait, why are they trying to apply urine to farm fields? Well, urine is chock full of nutrients that plants need to grow: nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, as well as a suite of other secondary and micronutrients. In fact, more than 3/4 of the nitrogen in wastewater is from urine, as well as more than half of the phosphorus. Generally, when we use the toilet and flush our urine down the sewer, these nutrients end up in our surface waters, fertilizing algae growth, causing big trouble for water quality. However, it doesn't have to be that way. If we can divert the urine out of the waste stream, we can utilize the nutrients from urine to act as a fertilizer in places where we want to grow plants, like in agriculture. With urine-diverting toilets and urinals, we can separate our urine at the source and collect the urine for processing into fertilizer. Rich Earth Institute has been running a community-scale urine recycling program since 2012. We collect urine from households and collection points around the region and transport it back to our research and processing facility. Here, we pasteurize the urine to meet regulatory requirements and ensure safety from pathogens. Then, we load up our truck and head off to apply the fertilizer. Our first farm partner was Fairwinds Farm, a horse-powered farm. Our original hay applicator is a horse-drawn applicator with a tank and a valve operated with a manual lever. The urine flows into a boom that comes out the back and has holes to evenly spread the urine fertilizer on the field. This applicator is still used year after year to fertilize hay to serve as feed for the horses at the farm. Most of our urine still gets applied to hay. This newer tractor-pulled hay applicator has a large tank and a wider boom. An electronic valve operated by the farmer in the tractor turns the flow of the fertilizer on and off as needed. This applicator used to be gravity-fed, but recently we have switched to using a pump in order to even the flow as we navigate the uneven terrain of Vermont hill farms. We generally apply about 1,000 gallons of pasteurized urine per acre of hay. More recently, we have started experimenting with farm-scale fertilization of other crops. This includes a nursery growing tree seedlings, primarily for nut production. In this experiment, we diluted the urine so as not to overwhelm the seedlings with a high nutrient concentration, and the farmers were very pleased with the results, both in the process of application and the results with their crop. We've also done a number of experiments fertigating with urine in drip irrigation systems, both in our own experimental garden and as part of a partnership with a local hemp farmer. Urine is a great candidate for drip irrigation because, as a liquid, it can be easily injected into drip irrigation lines to give a dose of nutrients along with irrigation water. Regardless of application method, studies across the globe, including some of our own, show that urine fertilization produces yields on par with synthetic fertilization across many crops when applied at similar nutrient rates. Please check out our Farmer Guide to Fertilizing with Urine for more in-depth information about using urine at the farm scale, or our Urine My Garden guide for practical step-by-step guidance about fertilizing with urine at the home scale. So, on to our latest work to further develop efficient and effective methods for applying urine fertilizer. Our work began with a previous SARE partnership grant in 2020 with John Janison of Peat Stand in Walpole, New Hampshire. We wanted to fertilize sweet corn at the same time that John was running his tractor through the field to cultivate for weed control. We hooked up this fiberglass tank on a 3-point hitch and ran a hose under the tractor so that the urine would dump into the row just in front of the cultivating machine. In this way, the urine would get immediately buried, preventing the liquid from running off away from the corn plants and preventing the ammonia from evaporating into the air. But we found that we needed to run the tractor very slowly in order to apply enough nitrogen to meet the needs of the corn. This was because, though urine is concentrated as a source of nutrients in wastewater, it's actually very dilute in nutrients compared with other agricultural liquid fertilizers. This is where urine concentration comes in. Rich Earth's spin-off company, Brightwater Tools, has developed a freeze concentration system to make a more concentrated urine fertilizer product, which is easier to store, transport, and faster to apply on farms. With John, in 2023, we conducted the first field trials of this concentrated urine fertilizer, which enabled us to increase the speed of the tractor. This showed that the concentrated urine fertilizer worked as effectively as a straight urine. However, we still had the issue that if the tractor changed speeds, the rate of application would change, so we needed to create a more reliable application method. Then, John had the idea of using a roller pump. Working with a farm equipment manufacturer in Pennsylvania, we developed a roller pump system to apply to 2 rows of corn at once while running the cultivator. A roller pump operates with a ground drive wheel that turns the pump as it rolls along the ground. In this way, the amount of fertilizer applied is determined not by the time elapsed, but rather by distance traveled. We tested the rate of liquid delivery and got the system all set using water before we took it out to the cornfield. You can see the rollers turning and pumping the liquid from the in-feed tank in the front of the tractor and being delivered into the jugs hanging off the cultivator. For our application on the cornfield, we used urine fertilizer concentrated by a factor of 6. This means we only had to do about 1/6 of the field work to apply the same amount of nutrients. Compared to the previous systems we had used with John, this method allowed us to do 2 rows at once compared to 1 row, and that tractor speed did not matter in terms of the rate of application to each row. And lastly, because we were using an IBC tank mounted on the front forks of the tractor, we didn't have to do any transfer pumping out in the field. Here you can see the urine concentrate streaming out of the hose onto the corn row and being immediately covered up by soil thrown by the cultivator.
So I'm going to dig down here. This one just got fertilized, and there's no liquid that I can find down there, so it all got incorporated in.
Here's John discussing his thoughts about the system.
It was pretty nice having the fertilizer drum in the front running down to the back. I was like, wow, this might be a nice system. It might be just a lot easier to do that and hefting 50-pound bags around. It was just kind of easy. It's precise, but it's just handling it, especially like buy it in bulk tanks already. And so then, the way that's set up, I wouldn't even have to pump it out of a bulk tank into a fertilizer tank that mounted to a piece of equipment. I wouldn't have to do that. I would just fork it, lift it up, and hook up the tube and go. And then I have 200 gallons that I could go. I could do a whole field, several acres probably, without stopping. And because that setup it's not like electric pump or a hydraulic pump or something like that, it's ground driven. So no matter what speed I'm going at, it's going to give it the same rate. You can go pretty fast, pretty good clip. You get to do rows, and I think I was going like 6 miles an hour, which is pretty fast when you're cultivating. I might even be going a little faster than 6. So that's probably twice as fast as I was traveling with the other tractor, and the other tractor I was only doing 1 row, so I was going 4 times. I was getting 4 times the work done with this setup. I'm glad to be a part of this project and trying to figure out how to use this thing we're just sending down the drain, and it, just another way to look at. We got to change. We got to start rethinking on how we source our fertilizers and everything really.
In our cold into straw. Long ago there was a fellow, Rumpelstiltskin was his name. By spinning straw into gold he earned eternal fame. But look around and join us, this conclusion you will draw. There's magic spinning gold into straw. Straw, oh straw. This conclusion you will draw. There's magic spinning gold into straw. Straw, oh straw. This conclusion you will draw. There's magic spinning gold into straw.